In this unit, we're going to be learning about quadratic equations and quadratic functions. So let's start by defining what a quadratic function is. A quadratic function is something that looks like this. F of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are just numbers there. So we could have something like f of x equals x squared plus 5x plus 6. Or we could have, it could also be a y equals, because remember, f of x is the same thing as y. So we can have like y equals 2x squared plus 3. We need to have an x squared term. That's what makes it a quadratic. All right, so if 2 is the greatest exponent on any variables, we call that the degree. So it's second degree. All right, so the graph of a quadratic function will always be a parabola. A parabola is this shape right here, this U shape. So we're going to see that in a whole bunch of different ways. So when we're working with quadratic equations, now a difference between an equation and a function is an equation just has one variable. Here we have a quadratic equation here. X squared minus 1 plus x plus 5. So that's a quadratic equation versus a function where it has an x as an input and an f of x as an output, or an x and as a y, x and a y. All right, so we're going to look at some different methods, some different ways to solve quadratic equations. So this first method we're going to solve by graphing. So we're going to get out our graphing calculator here, and what we're going to do is we're going to enter both sides as different functions into our calculator. All right, and we want to look at the graph of the left side. So we'll do that here. So we're going to go to our y equals, and that's where we enter our equations. And y equals, we hit the x button. We have x squared plus minus 1. And then we're going to go to the graph key. And there's the graph of the y equals x squared minus 1. Now, if your zoom is not quite set right, you're going to go to zoom standard if you don't see this view going from -10 to 10, and that'll kind of square it up here. All right, so if you see something different, now we're going to go into this second equation. We're going to go y equals, go down to the second y2, and we're going to hit y equals x plus 5. And we're going to graph it, and there's that line. That's the line y equals x plus 5. Now we got to find out where they cross. To do that, we're going to go to second and calculate. And then we're going to go to intersect, which is down there. And now we're going to go to, we want to find that left bound. So we're going to move the cursor, hit the left button. And you'll see the cursor kind of move over to just past that point. We're going to move to the right, hit that again. And there we have our intersection there. So this tells us that it will intersect at -2, 3. So that tells us this point right here is at the point -2, 3. Now we need to find out where this intersection is. So we're going to go back to second calculate again. And we're going to go to intersect down again to number 5. And we want to find this point, so we want to click somewhere to the left of that. Now we're moving the cursor, hit the right arrow, move over there. And it tells us there that intersection is at 3, 8. So this is at 3, 8. And so those x values there are the solutions we're looking for. When x is -2, y is 3. So if you plug in -2 to both of these here, you're going to get -2 squared minus 1. That is equal to 3. When you plug in -2 plus 5, that is equal to 3. So if you plug in -2 for x, you're going to get 3. So -2 is an answer. If you plug in 3 to both sides for x, you're going to get the same answer. If you plug in 3 squared minus 1, that's 9. 3 squared is 9, minus 1 is 8. If you plug in 3 plus 5, you get 8. So x equals 3 is your second solution. So there's two answers. You need them both. There they are. All right, those steps are right here. So that's on the graphing calculator there. You can also get an app for a Desmos graphing calculator app that works well. And so what we're going to do is we're going to enter the two equations, y equals x squared. Whoops, that's not an x squared. Let's go to x squared minus 5. There it is. And then we had y equals x plus 5 plus 1 actually, right? What was our equation? Let's go back and look at our equation. It was x squared minus 1 and x plus 5. Mix those up. There we go. So if we enter the correct equations, there they are. We can find their intersects. Now all we got to do is click on the points on the computer or on your app, and there's one at -2, 3, and there's another at 3, 8. All right, so that's pretty handy there. Don't have to go through all those steps, just click on it. So that's really nice. However, you got to use your graphing calculator on the test, so we want to be able to know how to use that too. One more way we can do this is we can take the equation and we can solve it for 0. So we can take and move all this stuff over to one side. If we subtract x from both sides, if we subtract 5 from both sides, then we're going to get this equation here, x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0. All right, and so what we're going to do is we're going to graph the function that looks just like that, but notice the only difference here is y is 0. We're going to graph this and find out where y equals 0. So we can use our graphing calculator for that here. So on our graphing calculator, we're going to go enter this function y squared equals x squared minus x minus 6. So we'll make sure you use your x key here, x squared minus x minus 6. And we'll get the parabola. We go to graph, and there's our graph. All right. Now we got to find out where this graph equals 0, because we want this equation to be equal to 0. And so we got to find the coordinates of this point. Okay. So we can you can trace it, and you can get pretty close. But the exact way to do this, and the best way to do this, is to go to second calculate. And we're going to find what we call the zeros. So I'm going to go to second, calculate, and we're looking for zeros. We go to 0. We want to find this 0. So to ask again for the left bound, so we're going to hit the arrows and move the cursor. I know it looks like we're going up and down, but we're using the left and right key. We got the left bound. Now we're going to move this, hit the right key, move it over to the right of that point, and there we have our first intersection point. So we just found out that this crosses at, right here, at x equals -2. So when x is -2, this equation here becomes 0. And that's what we want. We want x squared minus 6 minus 6, x squared minus x minus 6 to be equal to 0. So one solution is x minus 2. And now we're going to go back, and we're going to continue there. We'll go to second calculate again, and go to 0. And we want to find the other 0, so we want to find this one, moving the cursor over somewhere to the left of that, hit enter, hit the right arrow, going to go to the right of it, hit enter, and we'll get our other 0. And so our other 0 here is at x equals 3, and it tells us that right here at the bottom of the screen. So right there, x equals 3. So again, two solutions, same solutions we had before, x equals -2 or x equals 3. Again, we could find, we could go to Desmos, and we can enter this equation right here. Let's do that real quickly. So now on Desmos, we're going to change our equation, and we're going to enter y equals x squared minus x minus 6. So we're going to go y equals x squared minus x minus 6. And there's our graph there. And the nice thing, again, about Desmos is if you want to find those points there, all we got to do is we got to just tap on them. So we tap on the points where they hit the zeros, there they are, and we get -2, 0, and 3, 0. All right? So -2 and -3 are where the equations become 0. So here we set equal to 0. Here we just graphed two equations and found out where they cross. All right, so this is a great method. It doesn't always give us exact answers, but the nice thing is that it always works. So you can use this method, either these graphing methods, to check any equation. We're going to be learning other methods for solving equations using algebra, but you can always come back and check your answer using the graphing method. So keep that in mind. This method will always be useful to you.